Welcome back to the laboratory. It is Chef Mark, and it is a new year, so we're going to be doing a lot of great things this year. And for the first video of the year, I'm going to start with a request from the comments. Somebody asked me to make a video on the best way to sear salmon. So I got some salmon here, and I got to tell you, I love this new packaging that I'm finding in the grocery stores. I typically shop at a King Soopers, which is a Kroger branded store, and it's kind of cryovac. It's harder to find fresh fish here. I know you can go to Tony's Meats and Markets or Whole Foods and pay through the nose for fresh fish here. So it's always a challenge, and I find that this tends to be the most fresh and the highest quality for the price. We're gonna cook a little salmon today. I'm gonna quarter this, and we're gonna do two different kinds of pots. I'm going to show you how to get a great sear with both skin on and skin off, and how to handle that. Mise en place for today, I've got my salmon, I've got my fish board, cutting board, I've got a boning knife to cut the fish, some coffee, Costa Rican blend today, delicious. I've got my first build Paragon induction burner, two different pans. I'm going to do a Teflon coated pan and a stainless steel pan. These are just commercial pans that I get at the restaurant supply store, but they're both induction capable. Finally, I'm just going to use just a standard vegetable oil. And of course, whenever I'm using oil, I like to put it in the squeeze bottle so that I can meter out the right amount. Okay, we're going to do two pieces with the skin on and two pieces with the skin off. So I think I'm going to cut this lengthwise through the belly here. It's not quite a centerpiece, but it's not bad. It's not bad. The skin is tough. You really gotta get in there. Okay. So this will be my two pieces with the skin on. I like to leave that fat on. I'll tell you why, because it renders really nicely. Kind of almost like bacon fat. So go ahead and leave that on if you see it. All right. And then this is gonna be the skin on. I'm gonna do one piece with the skin intact, and the other piece, I'm gonna score the skin. So I'm going to make a little bit of a crosshatch. You don't necessarily need to go all the way through. The skin on salmon is extremely durable. Maybe if my knife was a little sharper, that could help. I'm at the very limits of my culinary abilities. And then we can see which one we prefer. Now, to remove the skin here, I'm just going to do a fillet motion. And the fillet motion, of course, I always talk about this. It's really setting the knife down off the board. So you kind of need to take a step back so you have room for your hand to work. And I'm just gonna run my knife between the skin, pardon me, the fish and the cutting board, and that will, oh nice, pull the skin off. Lovely. So the presentation side is the side that goes down in the pan first. And when you're talking about salmon, if you have the skin on, that is the presentation side, that goes down in the pan first. Conversely, if you have the skin off, you flip the operation and you put the belly side down. So if I have the skin on, like I do on this piece that I'm pointing to, you wouldn't want to put the belly side down, you'd want to put the skin side down. Right? Because that's where you want to get the most browning. Whatever side of the protein that you put down in the pan first is where the Maillard effect, the caramelization of proteins occurs, and you're most likely to get the very best sear. I'm also going to do a little bit of flour on one of these, and what I like about doing a little bit of flour on the salmon is that it acts as a barrier and keeps things from sticking. Predictions, I think that things are going to come out fantastic in the nonstick pan, and we're going to stick a little bit in the regular stainless steel pan. Cast iron would be a great choice for all of this. I don't use a lot of cast iron. Most chefs don't use cast iron in restaurants because it's hard to care for. You got to run everything through the dish machine, and of course, if you put a cast iron pan in the dishwasher, people lose their minds. Okay, I'm going to need to talk over the fan here on the Paragon induction burner. Yeah, the fan I would say is medium loud. It's a little bit quieter than, let's say, a microwave fan on an OTR, over-the-range microwave. I also have my click burner here, my butane burner. These put out a lot of heat. I'll tell you what, these put out, this is actually quicker than this. the butane burner. If you camp at all, this is a great option. I take one of these in my camp kit everywhere I go. Okay, we are preheating our pan with nothing in it. The clean, dry, and empty pan can preheat indefinitely. This pan can sit here for hours and be fine. Once you add the oil, now you're on the clock because the oil, there's no need to season the oil. There's no need to let the oil come up to temperature because we're just sauteing. It's just a very, very small amount of oil. I find that most people use too much oil. I think the misconception is that by adding oil, you're going to add moisture, but oil is very dry by nature. I think I'll do the scored piece of fish here. Good. And I'm going to do a piece on the belly without the skin. Okay. One more tip here. I have my wet hand, which is the hand that's touching the food. And I have my dry hand, and this is the hand that I use to actually cook knobs, pans, and then turn the sink on. So it takes a little bit of discipline, but I find I'm right-handed, so I use my right hand as my cooking hand, and my non-dominant hand, my left hand, as my wet hand. I'm going to do a small sprinkle of flour over here on the belly piece. That's about at the upper limit of how hot we want our pan to be. You can see it's literally smoking hot. And voila, just like magic, we're sliding. When we're sliding, that's good work. That's good news. That means that we're getting good engagement with the pan here. Okay, now we're back to a reasonable heat. I can put it back on the stove and turn it on. Yeah, I know induction doesn't create its own heat, but that pan was so hot I didn't want to risk it. Now would be a great opportunity to click that like button. And why don't you subscribe while you're at it? I'll wait. Awesome, thanks. So here's the belly. Oh yes, look at that beautiful color, nice golden brown. And then let's take a look at the skin side. Yeah, beautiful. It's got a nice crispy texture to it. Let's take a look here. Okay, so see, we are indeed sticking. We are indeed sticking. So I'm using my tongs, and I find that if I bring my tongs at an angle and use that as a shovel, I can get in there. That's the piece that has the flour. That flour acts as that barrier. Some of you might point out that I use metal in a Teflon pan, but keep in mind that I grabbed it from the side when I flipped, and I didn't scrape. To not scrape the Teflon, I find you can get away with it. Let's take a look here. Okay, so very common. See how the skin started to fall off here? And because we didn't score it, as it's rendering, it tightens up. It renders and tightens up to the point where the skin is, I find, almost impossible to get a perfect skin side salmon without scoring it. Okay, so little fun fact, I actually don't care for salmon. I don't really eat a lot of salmon, so I'm just going to do a little critical analysis here and then share this for lunch with some of my coworkers. All right, let's start with the least good and move up to the winner. So in last place, definitely skin on, unscored in the standard stainless steel pan. Second best, the piece of salmon here that's skin off, belly side down, with a little bit of flour as a barrier to keep that from sticking. That's very, very nice. Of course, if you're gluten-free, gluten-sensitive, celiac, that's not an option for you. Third, rather, would be belly side down, presentation side, in the nonstick pan. And of course, if you're using cast iron, you're going to get very, very, very similar results. And then definitely the winner of the Salmon Cook-Off 2024 is the salmon skin side down, scored, skin side down on the initial cooking. So you can see our belly side also has nice color, but you would want to present that skin side up so that people can see that you went to the trouble to make that. And it's nice. It's got a nice, we oftentimes will call that salmon bacon in the industry. And how nice does that look? I think that's a beautiful piece of fish. Well, there you have it. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and thanks for throwing questions in the comments. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration for these videos. So if you have a question about food or an appliance or a tip or trick in the kitchen, make sure you leave a message below in the comments, and I will do my very, very best to make a video, and I'll certainly respond.